Happy Sunday, everyone. I want to invite you to cozy up with me for a few moments as I bring the Vitamin Joy Tarot reading. What I'm doing today is I'll be giving a tarot reading with my Vitamin Joy Tarot deck, and then I'll be following it up with a one-card pull from my Open Road Oracle deck. I do want to talk about this for just a moment. It is an Oracle deck, it's not a tarot system, but all of the cards are built with corners or turns, left and right turns. And this is designed to take with you on the road with a friend. Imagine somebody in the passenger seat shuffling, and then you pull a card and you go right or left. You pull a next card. When you get to the right or left turn, you go right or left. It is an excellent tool, and I encourage anybody who's looking for a little fun and an opportunity for a joyride to perhaps thinking about picking this up. So let's get to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shuffle this deck right here 5 times, my Vitamin Joy Tarot deck. And what I'll be doing is I'll be looking at a card that represents where we're at in the moment, then joy for the 4 parts of us: mind, body, heart, spirit. So bear with me here as I get the shuffling done, and just sit with me and know that it's my intention to bring you as much love, connection to spirit, clarity in your life as is necessary. Before I take a look at the card that represents who we are in this moment, I do just want to take a moment to talk about how goddamn rough it is out there right now. It is rough. Especially if you're paying attention to current events. Gas, groceries, all the stuff that requires our personal worlds to go around. It's tight, and the world is weird, and neighbors are angry at one another, and everybody's looking for a solution, and a lot of people want to hate their neighbors, and that brings me great sadness. So let's try to dive into a little bit of joy here. Okay, so the card that represents us collectively right now, the Nine of Wands. I associate some classic rock songs with tarot cards, and this one is the card of Elton John's song, I'm Still Standing. This does talk about being beat up. It talks about trauma. It talks about enduring injuries, perhaps even insults. It does speak to going through it, but it speaks to the survival aspect of it. That if you're watching this video right now, you and I have both survived all our worst days. So this is an acknowledgement of how tough it is for us. The Nine of Wands very much speaks to that survival aspect, the injury aspect, but the fact that we are still on our 2 feet. So give yourself credit where credit's due. Let's take a look at the card that represents joy for our mind. Now, I am looking at this from that perspective of those 4 parts of us: mind, heart, body, spirit. And these cards are going to give us joy. So here's the joy that we need for our mind. The Six of Cups. The Six of Cups talks about childlike nostalgia, game playing, fun, being childlike. It's funny that I would want to. I'm filtering like at how much I want to share about my personal life. But let's just say that when things get rough, I like to be childlike. When things get heavy, I like to lean into vitamin joy. And it's funny because I associate the Six of Cups with vitamin joy. We can see, beer pong or whatever it is on this card. It just represents having fun with friends, having joy, whether that's with others or just by yourself. I know when I'm having a hard time in life when I start to crave old vampire movies from the 1980s. Fright Night is one of my favorite movies of all time. When I start feeling like I'm craving those old movies from my childhood, that's when I know I'm a little overburdened. And even if it's just a simple 22-minute episode of The Golden Girls, or a road trip, or just something fun to take our mind off of it, think about what a game of cards with your loved ones, friends, would do for your mental health. We can't forget the simple parts of this world, the simple parts of our life that are just very joyful. What brought you joy as a child, and can you bring that into your life as an adult? I think that's super important with the wild world that we're living in. So let's take a look at the card that represents joy for our heart. The Five of Swords. The Five of Swords is a card of boundaries, and it speaks to me of drawing a line in the sand and saying, I'm not accepting this behavior, I'm not accepting this treatment anymore. If that's too much for you, go find something else. Go find somebody else to take advantage of. This could be interpersonal relationships. This could be people in our life, or it simply could be a version of ourselves in our mind that it's time to say goodbye to. We all have, I guess, like as Walt Whitman said, we all contain multitudes. We all have these different versions of ourselves within ourselves. And we all have the gremlins that repeat the traumas, the pains, the heartaches back to us. Because the mind is a finicky creature, it repeats back to us what it's been taught. Sometimes we're not taught really healthy things about how to look at ourselves or how to look in the world. And the Five of Swords says maybe we need to draw a line in the sand for people outside of us, but certainly for the versions inside of us that are not our friends. Thank you for what you gave me, but no longer necessary to be here. So mind, heart, body, soul, what's going to bring us joy for our body? The Star. Okay, so this is healing. This is hope. I associate this card with some springs I go to locally where I'm at. There are some healing springs, Native American healing springs, or healing springs with a Native American history to them. And I very much associate this card with this. Now, personally, I've gone through a lot over the past month, and I have found myself very depleted to the point where the things that usually work for me, like going for walks, just weren't doing it anymore. And I went to my sacred place and I just spent time near the water in nature and decompressed. It's very hard when you're built to produce and move and do all of that. It's very hard to check out, especially when we have responsibilities for our families, our friends, our pets, our loved ones. This says we should take some time in places that are sacred to us. So do you have a place outside? Do you have a place near water that you can find some relaxation? And that's what this is all about. Let's take a look at what brings joy to our spirit. The Ace of Swords. It's time to cut away that which doesn't serve. Whenever the Ace of Swords comes up, to me it's a card of fate, but it's also a card of amputation. Sometimes things that are sickly and dying and diseased, they need to go, and we need to cut them away. But again, because it's a swords card, it's a card of the mind. We have to use this mind like a sword, which means we need to use it with skill and grace, because if we don't, we're going to hurt ourselves or other people. That's what this card means. Is there something in your life right now that's just not serving, that you need to say goodbye to? I know a lot of people have coping mechanisms that aren't healthy. A lot of people have relationships that aren't healthy. A lot of people have the negative ticker tape in their mind that's not healthy. How can we say goodbye to it? Now, I'm a big believer, and I think this is why we suffer a lot, in ritual and ceremony. I think ritual and ceremony are so important in our life, and when we are going through a transition, we need ritual, we need ceremony to speak to the spirit. We are all spiritually sterile. We have very few spiritual communities that we can go to in times of transition. So, with that being said, you can have a small ritual yourself, even if it's with a tea light. Light a tea light in a sacred way, ask for help, or say, as this flame burns away, so does my codependency melt away. That's so big. It's so big. And I think, well, let me put these two cards together. When I went to my sacred spot, it was very ceremonial, and that helped me move through the transition. While I did burn incense and make offerings and do all of those things in a safe, contained way, it was relaxation, but it was also ritualistic and ceremonial, and that made all the difference. Interestingly, when I was there, I was saying goodbye to parts of myself that just were hanging on and byproducts of being tired and exhausted and depleted. And it was just very joyful for me because I am still standing. So think about not only play from a childlike perspective, not childish, but childlike, and think about a tiny little ritual that you can do just to say goodbye to the things in your life that do not serve. We're always changing. We're always growing, whether we realize it or not. Now, I'm going to finish this up with an oracle card from my Open Road Oracle deck. And you know what? If you're an artist, if you're a creator, it is absolutely okay to be proud of the things that you have made, because when I look at this deck and this book that I've created, even though I've sold like 12 copies or whatever it is, it just brings me so much joy to create. So let's take a look at the card that we need to hear from right now. Card 41, Joyride. This card says, life is short. Find magic while you can. And I want to read to you the full description from my little booklet here of card 41. Joyride is the heart of this deck. It's your reminder that life isn't only about lessons and goals, but about joy, pleasure, and delight for their own sake. This card invites you to turn up the music, roll down the windows, and feel the wind in your hair. You're allowed to love the ride, not just the destination, and in fact, you're encouraged to. The ride only lasts so long. So, I think what I'm going to do tomorrow, October 13th, is my husband and I's 15th anniversary. 15 years ago, we eloped on the hillside near our barn. And tomorrow's supposed to be rainy. My husband was wanting to get out, go hiking, get outside. It's going to be rainy. Don't want to be cooped up in the house. And I think it's time for us to take a little joyride, see where we end up. So maybe that's something you can do on your end. Just go for a ride and see where you end up. And maybe that can be ritualistic in nature. Maybe you can go and become a different person in a slight, subtle way that makes all the difference in the world. So thank you for being here for the Vitamin Joy Tarot reading. Very much love bringing this energy to y'all. Thank you for being here, whether you're on Facebook or TikTok or YouTube. Doesn't matter. Thank you for watching. I hope you got something out of it. To learn more about me, to find my cards, to find my readings, my books, meditations, all that, you can find me online at joshsimons.com. Have a great week.